course.
Awesome. Okay, so in this video, welcome back. In this video, we're going to go ahead and we're going to write a prompt. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to write a prompt on, we're going to do something to do with image creation and see if we can't get a consistent output from ChatGPT in this case, and get a consistent output that we like for whatever purpose the ladies choose in this video. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me see here. There we go. Share. Okay, can you see my screen on ChatGPT here?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so now, firstly, I want to just break this out just a little bit. So ChatGPT is a large language model, and what is happening is that this AI, so ChatGPT cannot directly use images. It cannot directly use voice, okay? This is called multimodal. And so what's happening is ChatGPT is actually accessing other AIs. So DALL-E 3, which is the image generation AI, is a totally separate AI, and that's trained with pictures. So when you say, create me an image, the large language model, which is ChatGPT, is using English and it is understanding what you're saying, and that it contacts other AIs in the languages that they understand. And not all AIs know how to speak English. This is the only reason why AI has been around for decades, and they really haven't gotten too much more complex until the last, year or so. The only thing they did was they just gave it the ability to speak English and trained it on words. So we can talk to it. So now we talk to the large language model that can communicate with us, and then it communicates with other AIs in totally different languages. Like Wolfram Alpha, for example, has a completely unique AI language, as far as I understand. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that AIs have unique languages that they can converse in. And so it will communicate just much like a computer code, like computers talk to each other in other languages. So that's not like a shocking thing. But on the back end, ChatGPT goes and converses with all these other AIs and gives them commands that we couldn't give them. So it is sort of the bridge between human and all of these other AIs. So you have the LLM, which is this huge AI model. And then, like, for example, Wolfram Alpha is a physics and mathematics AI that is specifically trained and made to crunch, like how to launch a rocket and send it to Pluto type stuff. So super intense mathematical processing. So when we're talking to ChatGPT, we're talking to ChatGPT and it is then pulling in other AIs. So that's helpful in knowing. So that's firstly what's happening. When we talk to this AI, we're talking to other AIs as well. So when we say make an image, ChatGPT is going to talk to the other image AI. And now one of the things that can happen is a little bit of slosh between the two. So as it turns out, DALL-E 3, which is the most up-to-date, and this is going to get way better because they're already much better image generation AIs than DALL-E 3. But what's going to happen over time is it's going to get a lot cleaner with how these two AIs communicate with each other. But just so you know that there is a little bit of slosh between the two. That's my word, slosh. Very technical. So let's start with this. What do we want to make an image for? And let's say this is a thing that we want to have made consistently over time. For what? Someone give me something.
For example, why not a very detailed picture of English breakfast?
I'm sorry,
I
what?
don't know. Of an English black breakfast, this one with the
An English
bacon and
breakfast.
the eggs and things like this.
Okay, so let's go with a food blog. Okay, so we're going to start applying the prompt engineering things that we've gone over in the prior videos, and we're going to start doing this. Okay, so we're going to say you are a prominent prominent food blogger. Your goal is to create images of the food mentioned and output an image, and we'll call it a thumbnail image for a YouTube video. Well, that's not a blog, that's a vlog. So we'll say for a WordPress word. We're not even gonna say WordPress, that might confuse it. That's too much information for a blog. Now, this is who it is, and this is the goal. Okay, now we've also given it context. It is a food blogger. And so that is further context. If we wanted to give even more context, we could say you write for this website, and then it could pull up that website as it's outputting the image to kind of look at the look and feel. Now, we won't do that. Now, the next thing is we want to add specificity in here so that we get a better output. So your goal is to create images. Well, let's go in and specify images. Now, I happen to know this because I've just done this a lot. Okay, your goal is to create what kind of images? Do we want them animated? Do we want them to be child friendly? Do we want them to be cartoons? Well, in this case, I think we would want real looking images. So now we have to have words for the AI to communicate. We want it to look real. And the way you can say this in this case, and I'm still learning how to communicate different styles to this. I am not a media design guy, but we'll say, you can say real to life / and I'm going to put both hyper real. Okay, so your goal is to create, and maybe we could say 2, or you know what? I think now it can output more than 1. So let's just say 4. Your goal is to create 4 real to life, hyper real images in wide format. Okay, so it can come out square, which doesn't work well for thumbnails, tall, which also doesn't work well for thumbnails, and then wide. Now, I can only output in those 3 right now, but when I had the opportunity to see the backend programming, it can actually output in any specification, but those limiting backend programs said you can output in only 3 formats, like 1024 by 1000, which is wide, and then 1000 by 1024, whatever. It gave like three options, and that's tall, wide, or square. As this continues, and as they free up server and processing power, because there's so many people using this and the servers are limited, they're going to basically say you can do what you want, and that feature is going to open up. But either way, right now we only have those 3. So we're going to say wide format of the food mentioned, and output and a thumbnail image for the blog. Now we're going to add more specificity. And again, this is just because I've done this quite a bit. The DALL-E 3 AI cannot spell. And so maybe we'll let the first one come out, but you're going to quickly notice it is a different AI and it cannot write. It knows images, but it has not yet figured out how to spell things from images, because that's all it's trained on, is a bunch of images. ChatGPT is trained on text, so it can spell and write fluently, but it is calling on DALL-E 3 AI and DALL-E. And so it's, what is going to happen is ChatGPT is going to submit our prompt to DALL-E 3 AI, and DALL-E 3 AI is going to give us an image, but it can't spell. So we're going to get weird stuff. So we need to tell ChatGPT, use exactly 0 words in the image. And there you'll notice the specificity there with that word exactly again, because it'll still use words without that. Either way. So let's do that. Now we'll add the no words in there in a moment, but what is the food we're writing on? Who would like to give me an example? Emily, what food do you want to do our food blog on?
We can do like breakfast foods.
Okay, and let's get more specific. Oh,
Okay.
how about haggis? Is breakfast food haggis in Scotland? I just learned
No,
about
and like
haggis.
no, like even like a lot of Scottish people don't eat haggis.
Okay,
So
I
no.
just learned about it,
What
and I
is
was
that
like,
thing? I hear it for the first time.
yeah, I just heard about haggis like last week. My brother-in-law and I, but what is it? The title thing where you're a Scottish lord because you own 1 square foot. So we were talking in Scottish accents and we looked up haggis because that came up with AI. And I was like, what is haggis? Okay, so we don't want haggis. What's the breakfast food that you would like to go with, Emily? What's your favorite?
We can go with like um eggs and bacon.
Okay. Okay. Let's go with that. Now we could add specificity there and say eggs and bacon breakfast food on a fancy plate overlooking the harbor, overlooking the boat dock. You know, if that's what you're doing, like you can add any kind of specificity you want. So now what's happening here is ChatGPT is calling the DALL-E 3 language model or the DALL-E 3 image generation AI, and it's creating through the other AI, and that AI is going to import it into ChatGPT and it's going to serve it to us or output it, I guess, to us. I'm thinking about food now. Okay, so here we go. So what it did not do, well, let's see. Let's see if it does another one. Okay, so wow, that is a really good image. Whoa. They updated this for sure. That is way better than stuff I've seen in the past. That's really detailed. Okay. Man, I got to go get some food. Okay, so this is a really great image. This looks good. Now, how could we tweak this? Now, it did not use words, so we didn't have that problem come through. One of the things that it did do was say, you know, here's a bunch of text. And so I mentioned in prior videos, you know, it says a lot of fluff. So I could say output exactly 0 words in your output. And then I could say also use exactly 0 words in the image. So now ChatGPT is not going to say anything. I'm just going to get a picture. This can be helpful because with ChatGPT 4, especially if you're doing a lot of work, you still are restricted to 100 messages over the course of 3 hours. Now, this used to be, I think, an actual character count as well, which I think has been removed. I'm not exactly sure, but you know, it might be useful in some cases to remove this to save your output length, something like that. Or it's just a little annoying, or for professionalism's sake, you want to create an agent that you're selling even, and you don't want it to give various outputs. You just want it to be very exact every time. Okay, so, okay, now we can talk to it as well. I like the image, but I prefer my eggs scrambled. And since I'm in Hawaii, we're going to throw some local flavor with Spam. There we go. So now we're going to get scrambled eggs and Spam, and presumably the rest will stay the same, but you'll notice I didn't actually say for the rest to stay the same. So it may give us a completely different breakfast without the eggs on the side. And by the way, that is a lot of eggs floating around on the table. I didn't notice that before. Did you guys notice that?
That was the first thing I noticed.
Oh, really? I
These
totally
are a
missed
lot
it.
of eggs.
Yeah, that's weird.
An
So we
excessive amount.
got it. Okay, so yeah, we would say remove all the eggs on the table because I don't know why those are just sitting around as an egg in a bowl. It's funny. Okay, so here we've got Spam and eggs. Now, here's the thing. This is a little weird because it's like, well, why do I have 2 cups of orange juice and 2 forks?
2 types of eggs.
Yeah, and I've got 2 types of eggs. That's probably not usual. So no, I only want 1 kind of egg. So, you know, you can see you can have to like kind of go back and forth and do this. Okay. And okay, say thank you. You know, let's do a new image of church marketing. Okay. And we'll do something. And this is probably going to create a text issue and this, I'm trying to prompt it to give us a text issue. And it's going to create some kind of an image, probably in an oldie looking church with some kind of words on a board or on a projector somewhere that say church marketing. It's probably going to misspell it. I'm just guessing based on what I've seen in the past. We're giving it a minute here. There we go. There we go. Oldie looking church. And let's look at the words. All right. Welcome-ig, 2 eyes. All right. So there's welcome-ig. Join us. Those are not letters. For Sunday here. The big stuff, it's kind of getting right. all are welcome here, and then a whole bunch of nonsense suppressing. That's mildly concerning. I don't know why it's talking about suppressing. And then we've got characters that are not English. And so just a whole bunch of interesting stuff. And also this picture kind of freaks me out. A lot of times the images of church and stuff that it puts out are almost a little culty feeling. So that's something to be aware. But either way, okay, so we don't want words here.
Even the people in the image look like they're haunted or something like that.
Yeah, this is a little bit weird. And this is also not hyper real. And also it's square. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on here. So what we're going to do, one of the things that can add some unintended difficulty is having prompts prior to the prompt. Okay, so this can actually confuse the agent or the ChatGPT. So we're going to go ahead and say, you are a prominent Protestant Christian marketer who works for clickmill.co. Your goal is to create, and now it's not going to output 4 apparently. So we're going to say a real-to-life hyper-real image in wide format of the subject of in wide. Okay, I'm just going to start from here. In wide format that helps the reader of the blog visualize the subject matter clearly. Okay, now what I might then say is use, here we go, use, and I'm going to go ahead and just caps it exactly 0 words in the images, in the image. We already gave it the style. We already gave it wide format. And I'm going to say, okay, so here we're going to use the tone and feel. Now, obviously, you can have tone of writing, but you can also have tone of image. And I'm going to say, use a Hillsong meets hipstery vibe. Okay. Hipster. There we go. Hipstery vibe. So we'll just go with this and see what we get. And so in this case, create an image for church marketing blog. And we'll see what we get. And so you'll see that last one did not do well, and it was kind of weird and animated. We'll see if we get something better in this one. Also, I will say, as we're just kind of waiting, it's mildly concerning to me the way it portrays churches, because a lot of times it will be very cultish feeling, and it's like it seems like the AI may have some negative connotations of Christians. Not that it's explicit, but like suppression. Why is there suppression in a banner in front of a church? Like that is somewhat concerning. Anyway, all right, cool. So church marketing, it's a full church. So that actually makes a lot of sense. It is hipstery and Hillsongy, but maybe I don't like the traditional nature of this guy here. So let's go ahead. I don't like that kind of A-frame. And I'll say, give it a more modern feel. I don't like the A-frame AR architecture. Okay, so in this case, I'm giving it a tonality tweak, and I'm also giving it context on that. I want it to be more modern in the architectural sense, because this looks like an old church. And also a lot of times what you get, because of the training that obviously these things get, is when you say create a church, it'll create like a huge stained glass window, which is very common, but usually like Mother Mary is on it, like looking down on people. So that's something you see. So sometimes it kind of, that's the baseline, and you've got to like tell it, well, make it more in this direction. So not that's a bad thing, but if that's not your audience, then you got to be more specific. So this might be how we create an image generation prompt. Any questions on this before we move on to the next step of this sort of experiment?
No.
I have one.
Yeah.
So are you able to like use these images without like any copyright issues?
Great question. I can't believe I didn't think about mentioning that. Tell you what, we'll shoot a video right after this video and we're going to answer that. Okay. So now we went from a little bit of a traditional church to now we are in a spaceship cult. So this, these are some of the things you got to work with. Why is everybody in white? I have no idea, but this is and you've got like 37 guitarists. And I don't even know what's happening here. So this is going to be a no-go on this one.
Maybe they're welcoming some aliens.
Who knows? Anyway, so you do have to play with it. And this is, okay, and so first thing I will say for anybody watching this is normal. It's a little weird when we look at the churches this way that it's outputting, but this is normal because it is interpreting what we say. And so we have to kind of tune our prompt so that it clearly understands what we're giving it as prompts. That it's like, I said modern. What does modern mean? Well, I'm talking about sort of like a Hillsong modern. It is taking this as like a hyper modern, futuristic modern, and it's interpreting it that way. So I'm just going to continue to work with it until the outputs are within an acceptable range every time. Okay, so this is normal, weird, but normal. And this is the same case when we're telling it how to write a blog or we tell it how to write a sermon. The variability can change and the format can change and the tone can change until we address those issues. And this is just the testing phase where we just test it enough times that we finally get the output we want. Okay, so we'll go ahead, we'll stop this video, and in a future video here shortly, let me see here so I can make sure we're on track. We are going to look at okay, so that was a custom prompt. And so okay, so in regard to testing, so I actually have 2 videos here for writing a custom prompt and then testing the prompt. So I'm just going to delete testing your prompt because, I mean, we're basically just testing this. And we can see, and I just talked about testing, we can see it's giving us too much variability and we need to kind of figure out how to narrow it in. And that just takes communicating and repetition. So this video is writing a custom prompt, in this case for the image generation, and then narrowing it in through testing. Okay, so that's both of these. In the next video, we're going to get into AI agents and how those work. And maybe we'll even have some assignments on that this week.